The sky above the jungle was dark green, filled with thick clouds that never moved. Huge trees rose like towers, their roots twisting across the ground like snakes. This was the Forbidden Zone, a place where no normal creature entered and lived to tell the story. A group of alien hunters, tall and covered in armored scales, stood at the edge of the jungle. They were the Zarnak, the strongest hunting tribe in this part of the galaxy. Every year they came here to test their strength. They hunted the deadliest creature known in the wild, the Night Razor. This time, growled Commander Torvak, leader of the group, we take its head. We will bring honor to the clan. His team nodded. They had plasma spears, scanner helmets, and armor thick enough to stop a blaster. They were ready for anything. Or so they thought. As they entered the jungle, their scanners began picking up movement. But it wasn't the Night Razor. It was something else, Commander, one of the younger hunters said. I'm reading a life form, small, slow, unarmed. Torvak turned. A prey animal? No. It's a human. The aliens looked at each other and laughed. A human? In the Forbidden Zone? What madness is this? Torvak grinned. Maybe he's lost. Maybe he came to die. They decided to follow the signal. What they found stopped their laughter. The human was walking slowly through the jungle, calm and silent. He wore no armor, just old boots, a torn shirt, and a small pack. No weapon, no helmet, not even a flashlight. What is he doing? Whispered one. Alien. He's alone and unafraid, another said. Torvak narrowed his eyes. Let's watch him. This will be amusing. From a safe distance, the aliens followed him. The jungle around the human was strangely quiet. The usual screeches and growls of wild creatures were missing. It was as if the forest was watching him. An hour passed. Then the silence broke. A low growl echoed through the trees. It came from the shadows. Tall grass moved. Branches above shook. The Night Razor was here. The Zarnak hunters froze. They knew the sound. This was the beast they feared. A monster with 4 legs, razor-sharp claws, and eyes that saw heat and sound. It killed without mercy. Even the Zarnak, in full armor, lost many warriors every year to this beast. This is it, whispered Torvak. He will die now. But the human didn't run. Instead, he stopped and looked around. He tilted his head as if listening to something only he could hear. The growl came again, louder, closer. Still, the human didn't move. The beast lunged from the shadows, a blur of teeth and muscle. The alien watchers held their breath, but, in the blink of an eye, the human stepped aside. No fear, no panic. The Night Razor missed him by inches and skidded across the dirt. Before it could turn, the human was already moving. He jumped on the creature's back, grabbing its thick fur, dodging its snapping jaws. What is he doing? Shouted one alien. He's trying to ride it? No, he was trying to fight it, with bare hands. The jungle exploded with sound, growls, roars, and the human's breath. He wrapped one arm around the beast's neck, punched its side, dodged its claws. The aliens had never seen anything like this, not even in their oldest warrior tales. The beast roared in pain. The human was bleeding but still holding on. He can't win, muttered Torvak. No one can beat a Night Razor without a weapon. But he was wrong. After 5 minutes of chaos, the Night Razor collapsed. It was alive, but defeated. It lay on the ground, growling weakly. The human stood over it, breathing hard. His shirt was torn, his face scratched, but his eyes were calm. He reached out and gently touched the beast's head. It did not bite. It let him. The Zarnak hunters couldn't believe it. Torvak stepped forward, breaking a branch under his foot. The human looked up. Their eyes met. Torvak whispered, "Who are you?" The human just smiled. "You followed me," he said quietly. "Then maybe you should listen now. Something worse is coming, and you're not ready." The jungle was still. The only sound was the slow breath of the giant night razor. It lay on the ground, defeated, not dead, but not moving either. Its powerful body trembled. Its golden eyes, once full of rage, now stared at the human in silence. The human stood beside it, bleeding but steady. From behind the thick trees, the Zarnok hunter stared in disbelief. Commander Torvak had hunted for 30 years. He had seen machines melt, warriors scream, and beasts crush armored skulls. But never had he seen a night razor. Submit. This should be impossible, whispered one of the younger hunters. Torvak did not reply. He was watching the human carefully now. Not as prey, not even as a mystery, but as a threat. The human knelt beside the beast and gently placed a hand on its side. It flinched, then slowly relaxed. The jungle around them was quiet again, like it was holding its breath. Then the human did something strange, something no one expected. He spoke, not in the alien language, not in human language either. It was something deeper, a soft whisper, not made of words but of feeling. Even the trees seemed to lean in. The beast let out a soft sound, not a growl, but something like a sigh. It closed its eyes. Torvak stepped forward, breaking a branch under his heavy foot. The human stood up slowly. His hand left the beast's fur. "You shouldn't be here," the human said calmly. "This jungle is not yours to walk in." Torvak's eyes narrowed. "You tamed a night razor with no weapons, how?" "I didn't tame it," the human replied. "I listened, that's something your kind never learned," one of the hunters growled. "You speak like you're more than just a man." The human turned his head, and for a moment, something ancient flashed in his eyes. Not power, not anger, but memory. "I've been here before," he said. Torvak stepped closer. "Who are you?" "You're not ready to know," the human replied. Then he looked deeper into the forest. "And we don't have time." Suddenly the ground shook. Everyone froze. "Another beast?" asked one of the hunters. But the human's face changed. Not fear, but recognition. "No," he said, "this is something worse." The jungle ahead turned dark. Birds flew from the treetops. Even the night razor raised its head and growled, backing away like a frightened pup. "It's waking up," the human said. "I hoped it would stay asleep, but your presence, your noise, your pride, woke it." From the distance came a sound, deep, slow, like a heartbeat made of stone. Thum, thum, thum. Torvak looked around. His scanners were useless. The trees blocked all signals. "What is it? What kind of creature?" The human didn't answer right away. He looked at them. "You've hunted for trophies, for glory, for sport, but some creatures don't play your game." He walked over to the night razor and whispered something in its ear. It stood limping and disappeared silently into the shadows. "Even that beast runs from what's coming," he said. The Zarnok drew their weapons. Torvak raised his blaster. "We fight it." The human gave a small, sad smile. "You don't understand. You're not fighting an animal. You're walking into a memory, a revenge born from the first war this planet ever knew." The heartbeat sound grew louder. Then, silence, not a single sound, no wind, no birds, no breath. Suddenly, the trees in front of them snapped like twigs. A massive black shape moved between them, slow and heavy. They couldn't see its face. Only the shimmer of its armor-like skin, the glow of its eyes like two suns. "The human whispered, "Run, if you can." And then, without waiting, he turned and vanished into the forest like a shadow swallowed by the leaves. Torvak stared into the trees. "What have we awakened?" he asked quietly. No one answered. The jungle had changed and the hunt had turned. The blood forest was alive, not in the way trees breathe or animals walk, but in the way memories hide inside bones. The Zarnok hunters moved slowly now, silent and alert. Their pride was gone. Their laughter had died. Every step they took echoed, in their minds like a warning. Behind them, the path had vanished. Ahead, the forest looked different. The air was heavier. Red mist floated between the trees. Strange symbols were carved into the bark, glowing faintly, pulsing like veins. Torvak had never seen this part of the jungle before, and yet it felt familiar, like something from a story his elders used to whisper around sacred fires. "Commander," said one of his warriors, his voice shaking. "This place, it's not on our maps." Torvak didn't respond. He was thinking about the human, that strange man who walked like he belonged to the wild, who fought like a ghost and spoke like a memory, who vanished without a sound. "Find him," Torvak ordered. "He knows this place." But none of them knew where to look until they heard the voice. Not loud, not angry, just soft and sad. "You don't belong here." The hunters turned in all directions, weapons raised, but no one was there. "You came for sport, for power. But this forest remembers pain." The ground beneath them pulsed. Roots moved slightly like fingers shifting in sleep. Then, a deep rumble echoed through the air. Thum, thum. One of the younger hunters panicked. "We have to get out," but Torvak grabbed him. "No, we find the human, we learn the truth." From the corner of his eye, Torvak saw movement. A shadow passed between two trees. He followed. The others followed him. They walked for what felt like hours, until they reached a clearing. In the center stood the human, barefoot now, shirt torn, body marked with old scars. He was standing in front of a strange stone altar covered in moss and blood. "This is where it began," the human said quietly. "Where what began?" Torvak asked. "The first hunt." The human turned to face them. His eyes looked old now, older than any of them. "Your kind came here centuries ago, not to learn, not to respect, but to dominate. You killed the great guardians. The forest bled for years, and now it remembers." Torvak narrowed his eyes. "What are you?" The human didn't answer. Instead, he stepped aside. The altar behind him began to crack, split, and open. Something inside moved. A massive claw slowly slid out, dripping with red sap and ancient dust. The trees bent toward it. The mist turned darker. "This," the human whispered, "is the blood spirit, the last protector of this world." "You called it?" One alien shouted in fear. "No," said the human. "You did, when you spilled blood on sacred ground." A roar shook the entire forest. From the open altar rose a creature that wasn't made of flesh but of roots, bones, and black stone. Its eyes burned with memory and rage. "Run," the human said again, "but this time it won't let you." The hunters turned to escape, but the forest itself shifted. Trees moved, paths vanished, and thick vines crawled from the earth, blocking their retreat. "You must pay," said a voice. Not the humans, not the spirits, but the forest itself. Torvak looked around in horror. "Why are you helping this thing?" he shouted. The human stepped closer, quiet and still. "Because I was once like you. I hunted without care, but I made a mistake. And this forest took everything from me." He pointed to his own chest. A scar ran from his heart to his side. "This is where it pierced me, but it didn't kill me, it changed me." Another roar filled the air. The blood spirit charged forward. The human turned and walked toward it. "Not away." "Wait," Torvak called. "You'll die." But the human didn't answer. He reached the spirit, raised his hands, and the creature stopped. "Take me," the human said softly, "but let them go. They know now. They will remember." The spirit stared at him. Then everything turned red. The blood spirit didn't move. It stood there, tall, terrifying and still, staring into the eyes of the human who offered himself. The jungle around them was silent, like everything was waiting to see what would happen next. Then, the spirit stepped back. It spared him, but the vines didn't lower. The mist didn't clear. Instead, the trees whispered louder. And something else began to wake. The human turned to the Zarnok hunters. "It's not over," he said. "The blood spirit made a choice. But the forest is not one mind. Something older, darker, has noticed you now." Torvak raised his weapon. "We'll fight it." The human shook his head. "You can't kill what you can't understand." Suddenly, a scream. One of the younger Zarnok hunters was missing, just gone. They all turned. His footprints ended mid-step. No sign of a struggle. No blood. Only silence. Torvak barked orders. "Weapons up. Move close." But inside, even he felt fear now. This was no longer a hunt. They were being tested. The human walked past them, not afraid. "Follow me," he said. "You don't have much time." They moved quickly deeper into the jungle, following the human. Every step felt like walking inside a dream, or a nightmare. The forest shifted behind them. Trails they came from disappeared. Lights flickered in the leaves. Whispers floated on the air in languages none of them knew. "Why are you helping us?" one alien asked. "You should have left us to die." The human didn't look back. "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything, and not know why." They crossed an ancient stone path half buried in roots. Strange bones lay scattered beside it. Some alien, some unidentifiable. "This was once a city," the human said, "before the blood came." "What happened here?" Torvak asked. The human stopped. "Your kind hunted the guardians, thinking they were just animals. But those creatures were connected to this planet. They were not just alive. They were part of it." He pointed at the trees. "When they died, the forest cried." Suddenly, a loud screech came from above. Something jumped from the trees. Not the blood spirit, something faster, smaller, deadlier. It landed on one of the hunters and dragged him into the canopy before anyone could react. The others fired blindly. Into the leaves, but the creature was already gone. Only a few drops of blood fell from the branches. "What was that?" shouted one alien. The human looked up. "It's not a beast. It's a memory. It hunts in the shape of your fear." "We need to get out," cried another. "This place is cursed." "No," the human said calmly. "It's awake now. It won't let you go until it sees what you are." Suddenly, a roar, but it didn't come from ahead. It came from behind them. How? Torvak turned. The blood spirit stayed behind. "That's not the same one," the human said. "Then what is it?" The human slowly turned toward them, his voice dark. "This jungle doesn't have just one spirit. It has many, and not all of them believe in mercy." Before they could speak, a wave of wind burst through the forest, like a living scream. The vines moved on their own. The trees shifted, opening a new path. A trap. The ground shook. A massive shape walked out from the mist. This one was not made of roots or stone. This one had metal fused to bone, eyes glowing red, parts of dead beasts stitched into its limbs. "It was made during the Old War," the human whispered. "The Zarnok experimented here, created monsters from pieces of life and death." Torvak's eyes widened. "Our ancestors made that?" The human nodded. "And now, it remembers." The monster charged. The hunter scattered, firing. Plasma bolts hit its skin, but did nothing. Torvak shouted, "Retreat!" But the jungle closed again. There was nowhere to go. The human stood in front of the charging monster, unmoving. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a bone pendant, carved with symbols from long ago. The creature froze mid-charge. For a second, everything went silent, even the forest. The human looked over his shoulder. "You want to live?" he said. "Then stop hunting and start listening." The monster stood frozen. Its giant metal claws hovered inches above the human's face. Glowing red eyes flickered, confused, like it remembered something. Not just pain, but a name. The bone pendant in the human's hand pulsed softly. The Zarnok hunter stared, breathing hard. 2 of their warriors were gone, another was wounded. Torvak still held his weapon, but his hands were shaking now. "What is that thing?" he asked. The human didn't turn. Instead, he spoke to the monster, in a language no one else understood. Soft, slow, broken, and the beast stepped back, just one step, then another. "You built this," the human finally said, looking at the Zarnok. "Your ancestors stitched pain and steel together and gave it hunger." "We didn't know," Torvak replied. "It was before our time." The human finally turned toward him. "But it's your blood, and this jungle doesn't care how old you are. It remembers voices, faces, names." He looked down at the pendant. It was shaped like a fang, with small ancient runes glowing on its surface. "This was given to me," he said. "Long ago, before I escaped this place." "Escaped?" one alien asked. "You were here?" The human nodded slowly. "I wasn't always a wanderer. I was brought here when I was young, taken by Zarnok scientists during the old wars. They wanted to see how long a human body could survive when mixed with wild DNA." The alien stared in shock. "They turned me into a test subject, locked me in the jungle, let the creatures hunt me, but something happened." He paused. "I survived." He raised his arm. Beneath the torn sleeve, scars ran like fire across his skin, shaped like claw marks, symbols, burns. The jungle marked me. The beasts didn't kill me. They watched me. They tested me. And then, they accepted me. The ground shook again. The biomechanical monster made a low growl and stepped forward. This time, slow, like it was waiting. "I didn't just survive the jungle," the human said. "I learned its code, the rules that no outsider understands, rules of blood and mercy." "Code of the beast?" Torvak whispered. The human nodded. "Never attack without purpose. Never kill for fun. And always protect what listens." One young Zarnok hunter shouted, "This is madness. We are warriors, not followers of beasts." He fired a blast at the jungle. The trees groaned. And then the punishment came. From behind the leaves, a swarm of glowing eyes opened. Dozens of creatures, not just one type, but a whole ecosystem. Sharp-clawed lizards, bone-winged birds, serpent beasts with crystal teeth. They surrounded the group, not attacking, just watching. The human turned slowly toward the angry Zarnok. "You broke the rule." The young hunter stepped back. "I didn't mean..." But the vines struck fast, thick and alive. They wrapped around him and pulled him screaming into the earth. No blood, just silence. "The jungle listens too," the human said, "and it remembers disobedience." Torvak looked around. His team was broken, his pride shattered. He dropped his weapon. "What do we do now?" he asked. Not as a leader, but as someone lost. The human stepped forward. The biomechanical beast followed beside him like a guard. "You follow the code," he said, "or you don't leave." "What is the code now?" Torvak asked. The human looked up at the sky, where strange lights were flickering between the clouds. "You give more than you take." He reached into his pack and placed a small metal box on the ground. It was a data core, full of Zarnok records, maps, hunting paths, traps. "This," he said, "was your guide to kill." He crushed it beneath his boot. Then, slowly, the vines moved aside. A path opened. The jungle accepted the offering. Torvak took a breath. "You're not just human, are you?" The human smiled, but it was tired. "I'm what your war created. Now I keep the balance." He turned. "This jungle is alive. It forgave me, but it doesn't forget." The jungle was still again, but it was not peace. It was judgment. The Zarnok stood at the edge of the new path, opened not by strength, but by surrender. Their weapons were silent. Their pride was cracked. Only 5 of them remained. The forest had taken the others, not out of cruelty but for balance. The human stood at the front, his body marked with scars, his eyes full of history. He turned to them. "You are alive not because of your strength," he said, "but because you finally listened." Torvak stepped forward, His armor was scratched. His pride more so. "We were wrong," he said simply. The human studied him. "You were blind," he replied. "But blindness can be healed, if you're willing to see." He walked deeper into the forest. The biomechanical beast followed him like a shadow. The others followed too, slow and careful. After hours of walking, they came upon something strange. A quiet lake in the middle of the jungle. The water was dark but glowing from beneath. Trees bowed toward it. Stones floated on the surface as if the lake didn't accept weight. "This place," the human said, "is sacred. It only shows itself to those the jungle has forgiven." "Why? Did it reveal itself to us?" asked one hunter. "Because your blood has been taken, that is payment." Torvak stepped to the edge of the lake. "What happens now?" The human looked up. The clouds above were breaking. Beams of light touched the forest. "Now, you make a choice." "What choice?" "You go back to your people," the human said, "and tell them the truth. They won't believe us. Then show them your scars. Show them the silence in your eyes. The jungle has marked you. What if they laugh? Then let them come here themselves." He stepped onto the water. The stones held his feet. He walked across like it was land. The others watched in disbelief. "How?" one whispered. Torvak stepped onto the first stone. It held. He took another step, and with each step, the mist around the lake lifted, revealing something buried deep below. A giant skeleton of a creature long dead. Its bones glowed softly, wrapped in roots and moss. "That was the first guardian," the human said quietly. "The one your ancestors killed to prove their power." Torvak kneeled. He placed his hand on his chest. "We're sorry," a voice came. Not from the human, not from the trees, but from the air itself. We heard. The vines moved. The skeleton began to sink into the earth slowly, respectfully. It was not destroyed. It was being buried, finally, with honor. The jungle had accepted the apology. The human stepped back onto land. His task was nearly done. But then to a sharp sound, a warning, from the shadows, a gunshot, not plasma, a high-frequency alien rifle. The human staggered. Blood bloomed on his side. "Sniper!" shouted a Zarnak. They turned, but saw nothing, only a glint of light from far beyond the trees. Someone was watching. Someone had followed them. Torvak ran to the human and caught him before he fell. "Why would they shoot you?" The human coughed, smiling faintly. "Because not everyone wants peace." His hand gripped Torvak's arm. "You must protect the jungle now. Not for me. For all of us. No. You're not dying." The human's voice grew weaker. "It's okay. I've walked this path before." He looked at the forest one last time. The trees swayed gently. The biomechanical beast lay beside him, quiet. The human closed his eyes. But the forest didn't let him go. Vines gently wrapped around him. Not to take him, but to carry him. The roots glowed. The ground opened slowly, forming a nest of light and leaves. The jungle whispered a song, one of farewell. Torvak watched in silence. "He came as prey," he said quietly, "and left as protector." The forest answered with wind and a promise. Years passed. The jungle, once feared and cursed, became silent again, not in death but in peace. Where warriors once hunted for sport, now pilgrims walked in silence. The Zarnak returned to their world, not as conquerors, but as witnesses. They carried stories, not trophies. They spoke of a man with no armor, no weapons, who tamed beasts and walked through death, and came out carrying wisdom. But most people didn't believe them. They laughed. A human? With no gun? Beating the Night Razor? You expect us to believe that? But some listened. Some saw the scars on Torvak's body. Some saw how he flinched at the sound of birds, how he closed his eyes when wind touched the trees, like he remembered a voice in it. Soon, the story began to spread across markets, across space stations, across stars. They called him by many names: the blood-marked one, the beast whisperer, the last student of the jungle. But one name stayed the strongest: the bare-handed warrior. Deep inside the blood forest, a new monument grew, not built by machines, but by nature. A tree larger than any mountain stood where the human once walked. Its bark was marked with glowing symbols, and if someone stood close enough, they could hear whispers in the wind. Listen, give more than you take. Pilgrims came, aliens of all kinds. Some wept, some knelt, some brought offerings, not coins or weapons, but seeds, feathers, and small pieces of memory. But none dared speak loudly. They respected the silence. They respected the legend. One day, a small alien girl arrived with her father. She pointed at the great tree and asked, "Is the human still inside there?" The father smiled softly. "Some say he became part of it." "Did he ever come back?" The father paused. "Not in body." "Then where did he go?" The wind answered. "In the leaves." The whisper came again. "Run if you must. Fight if you must. But always protect what listens." In another corner of the galaxy, a trader walked through a desert planet. He was lost, bleeding, and weak. A wild beast blocked his path. But then, a shadow stepped between them. A man with a torn shirt. No weapon, old boots. The beast looked at him and stepped back. The trader blinked. But when he looked again, the man was gone. Only a small bone pendant lay in the sand. And far above, among stars, a transmission circled endlessly. An old video feed captured by Zarnok drones years ago. The image showed a human wrestling a night razor with bare hands. The screen flickered and a message played. "No way. Did you just catch the toughest creature to hunt with your bare hands?" Some laughed, some rewound, some watched it in silence. And one day, someone stood up, a soldier, a farmer, a child. They whispered to themselves, "Maybe I don't need armor to protect what matters." And just like that, the legend lived on, not in memory but in action, in choice, in courage.